Hello and welcome to the York Creators Podcast. My name is Ben Porter, and each week you can join me as I chat to someone from York's creative community. This week's guest is Bridget Bernadette Karn. Bridget is an artist who has worked across a huge range of mediums, but over the last few years has gained worldwide recognition for her work making pictures out of felt. She has exhibited at the Royal Academy of Art's Summer Exhibition in 2016, won the York Women Mean Business Maid Award, and was a finalist for Best Visual Artist at the York Culture Awards in 2017. So Bridget, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Ben, nice to meet you.
So do you want to tell me a bit about your background as an artist?
Art's always been a part of my life. It was something that I wanted to do straight from school, to go on to do a foundation course. Unfortunately, life gets in the way, and my father's firm went bankrupt. So I ended up deciding to keep art as a hobby. However, there was still this kind of little niggle constantly on my shoulder about wanting to make pictures. So I made pictures and artworks for people's gifts and presents.
What sort of pictures were they? Were they just drawing by hand?
Watercolours, oil paintings, some sketches. Yeah, that was. If I was babysitting somebody's kids, I made them sit down for hours while I drew them. God bless them. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that I did, and I knew I still had to make. I needed to do something. I still had this strong urge to go into art. So I was about halfway through my nurse training and really enjoying it, but realised that I had the option, once I qualified, to actually pay my way through art college by nursing. I'd come across quite a few people who'd been working in the hospital that I was in at the time in Liverpool, who were travelling around the world, and they were using their nursing skills to work in different places.
Oh, great. And
it occurred to me that I could use my nursing skills in the same way, but to follow my education in art. So when I qualified as a nurse, I was actually offered a job on the ward I was working on, and I said that I couldn't take the job because I was going to art college. Unfortunately, the manager on the ward was really sort of forward-sitting. She was like, "Well, how are you going to, fund yourself?" And I went, "Well, I'm going on the nurse bank." And she went, "Right, then you can be our bank nurse." So I worked in nursing and did a foundation course for a year, which completely exhausted me. But I ended up doing both things that I loved, which was great. But I had the ability then to go on into do my foundation course in Liverpool, and did got myself into a college course in South Wales. Yeah, so that was kind of where I went to after nursing, and I went back into nursing after I did my art college course to pay off my debts from college. And I thought I was going to go on to do art therapy, to marry the nursing and the art together. However, again, as I say, life gets in the way, and it takes you on a different journey. Eventually, I set up my own pottery in our garden, and I became part of the Northern Potters. And I worked with them for probably 3 or 4 years, doing events around the place, and selling my ceramics through them. But also, I managed to get some of my worn art jewellery into the gallery here in York. So that was a real coup for me to actually sort of get that in there. And I decided to open a craft club in our village, because as we were sort of saying earlier, there's an awful lot of talented people around, and a lot of people who love making, who don't necessarily consider themselves artists or craftspeople, but just enjoy doing it. So I decided to start an arts and crafts club so that like-minded people could get together.
Which village is that in?
It's near Castamalbis.
Okay.
Yeah. That was in 2006. We're still going now. We're an evening class rather than an afternoon class now. And we do all sorts. We've done, at the moment, they're actually doing candle making as we're sitting here.
Oh, cool.
They're doing something called ice candles, where they put ice cubes into a container and they pour molten wax over it.
Nice.
So we do all sorts of things, from making mosaics, doing a little bit of clay work every now and again. We've done jewellery making, and we've done all sorts. It's from silk painting. We just do whatever we feel like doing. So for quite a while, that was great for me, in that it kept me doing lots of arts and crafts stuff, and it helped me to revisit some things that I hadn't done for a long time as well. And one of the ladies who came to our group she used to teach at Askham Bryan College, and she was very enthusiastic about teaching. So she'd come along and she'd say, right, who's doing silk painting with me this week? Or who wants to make some simple cushions? And one day she came along and she was like, who would like to learn how to make felt? And it was one of those moments, I remember turning around to her and going, yeah, go on, I'll have a go.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise at the time how life-changing that comment was going to be. The very first piece of felt that I made, I immediately saw the potential for making pictures, which, having done 3D work with clay, I hadn't done a lot of picture making for years. So I was like, oh, I could make pictures here. And I made my first picture. And the enthusiasm from my craft club was really quite supportive and kind of, you're good at this, And I was like, yeah, I really like this. It's got, I could feel quite an excitement about it. I kind of tried to fit in making a couple of pictures around sort of life. However, again, as I keep saying, is life has another plan for you. I ended up collapsing in Tesco's and discovered that I had gallstones, which were obviously quite severe, but I hadn't realised previously to it. And I ended up having to have an operation to remove my gallbladder. And I found myself coming back from theatre to be told that they'd unfortunately cut my gastric artery as well as having taken out my gallbladder, which was very unfortunate, and I didn't. Obviously, I think that was a good idea at the time. But what it did for me was it actually gave me 3 months of convalescence, which I could hardly do anything for the first couple of months. I was lucky if I could actually get up and walk around 15 minutes at a time in the first few weeks, because I was so exhausted and it was quite a shock to my system. But what happened was I started finishing off all the sort of like drawings and paintings and stuff that I hadn't had time to do. And eventually came on to making my felt pictures. And I started making this it was quite a naive sunflower picture in a vase that I had in the kitchen. And I'd taken this photograph, and I was sort of encouraged to kind of think, well, I've got nothing else to do. Nothing much I can do at the moment. I'll have a go at making a felt picture. By the time I'd finished it, one of my friends who'd been visiting me was like, you really have to exhibit some of your work. This is really good. You've got to do this. And I was like, well, I've only got a couple of pictures that I've made. It's not exactly like I've got loads. And she's going, no, here you are. Here's an application form. You're going to fill this in and you're going to do this. Yeah. So, it was about 8 months later, I found myself at the Boston Spa Art Festival with a number of felt pictures by that stage. And the response to my work was really quite strong, and I felt I've really got something here.
That's great.
And that was my sort of first moment of realising, that was 2012, that I could do something with my felt picture making.
So looking at your beautiful artwork, I can see there's a lot of inspiration from nature and landscapes. What is it about that moves you to want to make them?
I've always been drawn by colour in particularly, and in skies and water is particularly. As a child, I can remember for hours looking at skies and trying to draw them and trying to kind of capture what was going on. I think I love the fact that they never stayed the same. They were always different. And as an adult, I've kind of gone on to kind of really explore the idea about how light impacts on our landscapes and our environment, and how it completely changes where we are and how we feel. 5 minutes can make all the difference to somewhere being a grey day to suddenly being a beautiful bright day. But sometimes it's the way that the light actually hits something that can be one colour, and then half an hour later another colour. And I love the way that the light does that, and I love the dramatic effects that you can get from light. So I suppose really, although I am drawn to natural environments, it's the dramatic light and how it impacts on its environment is what I'm really drawn to. But nature's always got something to teach us, hasn't it? Something to show us. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I remember looking out. So I used to live just across the road from here, and there was a big field that you could see out of the window. I remember one morning I was going to get in the shower, and I had somewhere to be, and I just looked out the window and I was like, what is that? And it was so misty, but the sun was coming through it and it just looked like a beautiful painting. I was like, oh no. So I had to grab my camera and run out, and luckily there was a couple walking their dog coming just towards me. So I crouched down and got this picture, and I was like, oh, that's one of the best pictures I've taken. But it was there right in front of me. I didn't have to do anything, I didn't have to make it.
Yeah, and there's images that I have in my mind that I saw that I didn't have a camera to capture, and they haunt me still. I still have images that I've seen and think, I really need to get that down somehow. I need to find a way of creating that. And even when you do take a photograph, you'll find it will niggle away at you until you think, right, let's do something with that.
Yeah.
That's got to be produced. It's got to have something done with it.
So do you want to tell me a bit more about your workshops? Because you have people come from all over the world now to these.
Yeah. I started off running my felt picture making as a business in 2014. And I went to the Knitting and Stitching show in London, where I launched my business from. And that was kind of like my starting of sort of really doing something serious about picture making. And at that point in time was the beginning of me getting people, rather than my local craftspeople who obviously all knew me, to come to my workshops. But last year, a friend of mine made a video for me. And I can't tell you just how lucky a break that was. She made a video. She made 2 videos, actually, a 1.5 minute one for social media and a 4-minute one for putting on YouTube. I put the video, the 1.5 minute video, on Facebook. 2 hours later, I had gone round the world.
Oh.
It was absolutely, I mean, I wasn't prepared for it. I'd always done little videos of one thing or another myself, which used to get sort of... maybe you got a couple of thousand people who saw it, and, you know, maybe if you were lucky, you got a couple of hundred people who liked it or made a reaction or whatever. But this was crazy. Within 2 hours, it'd gone around the world. I spent 2 weeks answering fan mail, and people asking me if I had any books or any online courses that they could do, because obviously they weren't in the UK. I was absolutely stumped. I really didn't know what to say. However, since then, I've actually gone on to produce an online course for people who are too far away to make it see me. Great. But what has been amazing is in the last year, I've had 2 different ladies from Canada, somebody from Jamaica, somebody from Norway, somebody from New Zealand, somebody from Luxembourg. It's coming soon. Most of them have been already on my course. Yeah. And I was absolutely flummoxed, because not in a million years would I have imagined that I would have had people coming from that distance to come to my course. Yeah. So, it's been quite an experience. Yeah, it's such a good thing. And obviously these people then come and experience York and the surrounding areas as well, which is a great thing for the city. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that, it's important to me that people who have made the effort to come that distance know about York. And most of them stay in and around York, in accommodation around York, and they spend a few days in the area. And I always kind of give them recommendations of, you've got to see the walls, you've got to go see the Minster, all the things that I know are spectacular about York. So yeah, it's really important, I think, for me too, to be able to be proud of the fact that I live in such an amazing place, and it's been a great place to bring my children up. So what's your opinion on York as a creative city? Because there's obviously quite a lot going on here, as we mentioned. Who are some of the people who are doing really interesting things that people might not know about? Oh, well, where do you start? I've been part of the York Open Studios for the last, this is my 3rd year now. So I've met quite a few people through that to discover that York is an amazing place for creativity. There's 120 of us on this year's York Open Studios, and we're a real mix of 3D, 2D, multimedia. It's just fantastic. And this year there's about at least 10 of us that are textile artists. Again, I take my hat off, because I know how hard it is working in textiles to actually make your way forwards, because often galleries that are used to selling oil paintings or watercolours or traditional, shall I say, types of art aren't very sure or confident about taking in textiles. And I think sometimes you have to work very hard to actually get yourself known. And actually seeing that there's actually quite a large group of people in York working in textile art is just fantastic. We're hoping to actually develop something from this year, from the York Open Studios this year, further with the textile art group that we've already met once, and we're hoping to meet up again after the York Open Studios are finished, and to get together and hopefully do something a bit more with that. But there's so many people. And it's just so inspiring to see them all. And we had the launch last weekend, and to go and actually spend an hour or so just looking at everybody's work and realise, what talent there is. And that's just in one city. Yeah.
So where can people come and see you and your work?
Well, I have work in my studio. I'm open this weekend and next weekend with the York Open Studios. That's the 14th and 15th and the 21st and 22nd of April. I'm also having a solo exhibition on the 2nd and 3rd of June in York Cemetery. So if you can't make it to the York Open Studios, you'll find me there on the 2nd and 3rd of June. And I'm also going to be in Nottingham for Nottinghamshire at Patchings Arts Festival in July. So that's my plans for the next few months.
Okay, great. And if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? My
website is probably the best way to catch me. My website is www.Bridget Bernadette Karn, it's Karn with a K.com. And if you've sort of put me into Google, I'll pop up, and you can contact me through there. I'm also on Facebook, Bridget Bernadette Karn Studio Shop, so you can find me there as well.
Perfect. Well, we'll put all the links in the description so people can click through.
Great. Thank you very much, Ben.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.